Welcome to Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers on Legends 100.3, brought to you by Alzheimer's Community Care, providing help and hope for thousands of families for the past 20 years. Here's Mary Barnes, CEO of Alzheimer's Community Care.
Welcome to Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio, 100.3 FM. You can call Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700, or you can send us an email at info@alzcare.org. In listening to our conversation today, I think it would be great to let us know how you appreciate the words of wisdom that are talked about today and the different insights into different areas of care. And so that's why we always give you our alzcare.org and about the information on our info line. So please, and send us an email. That would be another good thing to let us know how you feel about the information that you're hearing. And of course, I've got my partner in crime.
Good morning.
Which is Karen Gilbert. And we have another special guest. We were so lucky to have so many special people talk to us.
Well, I think it's also a measure of how many of us it takes to care for these patients and their families.
You know, we had a chance to listen to Glenn Campbell's wife, Kim Campbell, and she herself was very, very, very excited about how much help there is out there. Where I remember back in 1985, we didn't have all these resources and so wonderful many options and other people to talk to, because it takes a whole community, and we are a community. I think Palm Beach County is one of the most friendliest Alzheimer's communities. They call it a dementia-specific care community, but I just think they're all so supportive of.
We're headed that way, but we have a lot more work to do. We have to have those medical principles for standard screening and identifying when people may be developing a cognitive deficit, because many of those in many of those situations, they have a treatable condition going on.
But we did a big hurdle with law enforcement, especially with the Florida Silver Alert.
Yes.
And there's another, having those resources out there is another reason why we've got our guests here today. Oh, so I want you to introduce her and tell us more.
Welcome, Julie Tombari, the administrator of New Day, also a specialized Alzheimer's Adult Day Center, as of course our 11-day centers are. And we partner together in many efforts. As we always say, unfortunately, there is enough business for everyone. And Julie, you have been with New Day since 2007.
Yes.
You are also certified as a trainer for the topic of Alzheimer's disease and related disorders, and that is a certification granted by the Florida Department of Elder Affairs as they coordinate with the Training Academy through the University of South Florida. And let's see, you came to Florida originally?
In, 2005.
Okay. Excellent. So you've really been with New Day most of the time that you've been in Florida, but you started working in adult day care as far back as 1991.
Yes, I've always had a passion for adult day care.
And back then, it had to be really a new concept.
You know, the day program that I worked on then has been around since 1982. I believe it might have been a little bit earlier, and they were one of the first ones in the Massachusetts
And this was
area.
up in Massachusetts,
Yep,
yeah.
And they started very small, but by the time I had left Massachusetts, I was there for 14 years at that day program, and by the time I had left, they had grown to 3 locations, 100 people a day, and they also do housing, so it was a very large organization.
So it seems like, Mary, in Massachusetts, this may have had its birth, the adult
Well, I don't
day
know
concept.
if they were necessarily dementia specific.
Right,
They
definitely
would
not
not
have been.
No,
dementia specific.
and I do think I used to work in Connecticut, so Connecticut and Massachusetts are sisters, and I worked in housing too for the elderly, and they do. I thought that those states up there were very progressive in offering housing, especially for our elders.
Yes.
And back in the 90s, I was actually here, but working in the hospital setting, and we were just beginning to talk about many of our employees who were recognizing that they had to take care of a parent, that it was no longer safe to leave that parent at home. And we were beginning to conceive of how we could address this need, nothing in disease specific, Alzheimer's or dementia specific way back then. But it was this emerging need in the 90s. And I was actually not aware that there was such a robust effort to provide supervision. Even if they may not have known, were they dealing with patients with Alzheimer's or vascular disease of the brain or whatever the dynamic was, they knew they had people who needed supervision and also some therapeutic interaction during the day. So it has evolved incredibly over these last almost 30 years, and we are an aging population. So the need will continue to grow.
I think when you look back of when you started working in those environments with the elderly, there was some heartbreaking lessons that families had to go through. And now they don't, because we understand what was going on with it. But in those days, you didn't.
Absolutely.
Well, in just a moment, we'll come back and talk about some of the specific services that you provide at New Day. This is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. You can call us at Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700. You can also send comments or questions by email to info@alzcare.org. That's ALZCARE.org. Alzcare.org is also our website address. So please feel free to visit the website. There's a tremendous wealth of information. And also, this program will be posted as well as prior programs that you can listen to. Tell us about the varied services provided at New Day.
Well, services provided at New Day include healthcare monitoring. We, as many day programs do, we have a full-time nurse that gives medications as needed, is there to really oversee the safety of the participant and evaluate when changes happen and have a good connection with the physician to be sure that all the care is being provided, and the families, of course, the caregivers.
And one of the hallmarks of being a specialized Alzheimer's daycare is we do have that medical support, which really doesn't happen in other institutions.
No. Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Well, much of what you're addressing is actually in Florida law. There is a specific law that governs specialized Alzheimer's adult day centers, and you have to really be meeting far more substantial requirements and standards because they are in statute. And it's kind of a moving target because new day centers around the state are earning that license, and they earn it by a very focused survey.
And we're very excited for that.
We are, because we need more. But still, in such a populous state, and especially an older demographic in Florida, we still, as of now, only have 40 specialized adult day centers in the entire state. So we're glad to see that number growing. So you talked about monthly health monitoring.
Yes.
Which is a specific requirement in a specialized adult day center.
Right. And the thing about having the nurse there all day is there's daily monitoring.
There really
visually.
is.
There
Yes.
really is. And I can't even imagine having a program that does not have a nurse present at all times. That thought makes me a little nervous. So I really appreciate some of the regulations that went into place for the specialized license or needed, and you want anyway in place. And it's nice to have that higher standard for staffing, for example. You know, we're staffed 5-to-1, and that's part of the regulation. And you need, when you're working with this population, behaviors occur. People have needs. There's a lot of need for one-on-one time to help people feel comfortable, and you can't do that on 6-to-1. So the 5-to-1, I know it's only one extra body. Sometimes you need, sometimes you're 4-to-1 and 3-to-1 because you need it. But it makes a huge difference for the care and their happiness and engagement.
And the therapies that we identify, 70% of that day of the operation of that center needs to have these different therapies. But that is a spotlight. That is another type of it is a standard, but it's another type of paying attention to the unique needs and actually what makes the center so different than any place else.
Well, and if you're not doing that, what you're going to have is 50% of people will be sleeping, and 50% of people will be saying, I want to go home. Where's my ride? I've got to go.
Because they're bored.
Because they're bored. They're not engaged,
Yeah.
and they're not feeling successful, and they're feeling frustrated because they don't know what they're doing or why they're there.
70% of the time that you're open, engaged in therapeutic activity, is virtually all of the time that they're not eating a meal.
Correct.
Because obviously we give them peace to eat their meal.
Exactly.
And they get to choose the music that they listen to during their breakfast and during their lunch. But it is that engagement, and tell me if you agree, it is that constant engagement, cognitive challenges, spelling bees, trivia, word games, math games, and then the physical activities, music, dancing, building crafts. That is the therapeutic treatment we have for people in middle stage disease. We don't have any pills.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, my father has been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's now. But at the time when it was mild cognitive impairment, the first thing the doctor said is go be social and have a purpose. That's what you need to do to stay in this stage for as long as possible. It might never move, but if you don't do that,
It surely will.
Yeah.
And one of the
Yes.
other secrets that we've learned in doing this work too is the music. Is the music, and that's what Glenn Campbell's wife spoke about yesterday. That him going on that concert and doing that for the 2 years, and he did what was it, over
151, I think.
151.
Yeah.
concerts.
Yeah.
they
In mid-stage Alzheimer's,
That's
correct?
well, that's when
Yes.
he actually started. But they feel, the scientists and the neurologists feel that he actually delayed the onset of the real full-blown face of Alzheimer's because of what he did. Because every day he was out there stimulated, he was out there doing something that was close to his heart, and it just challenged him every day.
We've got to talk a little bit more about music in just a moment, and it is based on something that Kim Campbell said. This is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio. You can call us at Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700. You can send questions or comments by email to info@alzcare.org. That's ALZCARE.org. And that also happens to be the address of our website. There is a theory about music, and we've heard it over and over. And Kim Campbell did allude to that yesterday, in that any musical skill, whether it is singing or playing an instrument, writing music, reading music, it uses a tremendous amount of the brain. Right. It's not like one particular part of the brain doing music. And so that's where they believe that's therapeutic, because when you engage in music, it's almost like encouraging the brain to exercise. And all of these different connections from all different areas of the brain are working to connect. And it is almost like if we go to the gym and we lift weights to work our bicep muscle in our arm, this is a way we can work the brain. And I read a recent study by a researcher who was commenting on how even playing a toy instrument, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a real $3,000 or $4,000 brass instrument. A toy instrument will give you that same benefit. It's making the music with whatever tool you make it with.
What we have found interesting recently is that, we've always known music is the highlight of everyone's day at New Day, for sure, and you see it. But what we really found is that nobody is doing anything else if there's music. If there's not music, you might have two people socializing, someone might be sleeping, somebody might be walking around. But when it's music, everybody's present, and they're tapping.
Together.
Even people who can't talk are tapping a toe, either a foot, moving their hands, and the eyes and the smiles. It changes everybody, and
That's
that
the
mood
magic.
carries through. So it's you do it early. You have this nice happiness. Like we used to do it at the end of the day. We're like, why are we wasting all this powerful, happy energy at the end? Let's do it in the beginning.
And you can weave it through
and
the day
and we
as well.
absolutely we weave it through.
You can call Alzheimer's Community Care at 561-683-2700. You can also send us your question or comment by email to info at alzcare.org, alzcare.org, which is also the address for our website. And we're here with Julie Tombari of New Day, also a specialized Alzheimer's Adult Day Center in North Palm Beach. And you have a program I would love for you to tell us more about, the Integrative Memory Enhancement Program.
Yes. We purchased this program 3 years ago. I saw somebody talk about it from the Council on Aging in St. Augustine about 4 years ago. And as soon as I heard them talking about it, I called them like the very next day. Are you selling it? Are you going to sell it? Can I buy it? No, we're not ready yet. We're going to, but we're not ready yet. Eventually we got it. And the one thing that it kind of gears towards people who know they have some cognitive impairment, want to work on maintaining for as long as possible or improving, which is the hope. And they there because they want to be there. So it runs 2 days a week. It goes from 10 to 4. It's either Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And people come for the day and they work on multiple things throughout the day. There's always exercises. There's always some deep breathing. There's always brain integration program that's like, when you were little, you used to rub your tummy and tap your head there's like 10 different exercises like that. That's a daily. And then everything else is trivia, word games, math, reading, writing, conversation, logic, all types of things to help people. The hope is to gain some reserves and develop new neural pathways. And it has been a fantastic hit. People come for that program. Some people they don't go to the regular program. They want to go to this because it feels special. It feels like it's for them and they're getting something out of it.
And it's challenging.
It's challenging. And so like the math is sometimes there's always a teacher in the front and then everybody else has paper in front of them. We have handouts. There's pens and they can work things out on paper if they want. So the math might be, if we have 7 quarters, 2 dimes, 3 nickels, and 14 pennies, how much money do you have? And you'll see some math guy in the corner just spits it right out. And then the other 4 other people at the table are writing things down and trying to get to that right answer. So it kind of engages everybody at whatever level that they are at, but they need to be at a higher level, aware of being there and wanting to be
right,
there.
because it's a fine line. You don't want someone to get frustrated.
Right. And you can see that sometimes people will start making jokes and start, dancing around a little bit and dropping a pen and, those types of things. And, we'll just save them. We just say, hey, somebody was looking for you on the other side. Can you come with me for a minute? And then
that is the magic of a specialized adult day center. You've just hit on that. Yes, we do monthly monitoring, but the changes in our patients do not come from vital signs. They rarely have a fever. Their blood pressure rarely changes. Their pulse it's in the behavior.
Absolutely.
And when you recognize the behavior and you become that detective on the fly trying to figure out, and in your example, you're figuring out, they can't do this activity. This one is too challenging, but we don't want them embarrassed. We don't want them frustrated. And that is the magic of a specialized adult day center.
Right.
Incredibly important.
And that's also the difference of when you're doing 1 on 5. You have those extra eyes out there. You don't have that bigger population. And as you know, in doing this, different types of diseases, disorders, like the difference between vascular versus Alzheimer's. I mean, with vascular, change can happen overnight because you're getting many UTIs or other things that are happening to the vascular side. So there is a difference with the pathology. But you being sensitive and understanding that there's all of a sudden there's this frustration you're starting to see and to handle it as well as what you did and how you do it makes it so different. Makes it do it, and I know it preserves that person's dignity and integrity.
Yes.
Throughout, and that's what we're all about.
Yes.
And that's as therapeutic as anything else. And when we know those things, we can tell the caregiver.
Exactly true.
Right.
And so they can pick up on those kinds of signals when they're caring for their loved one on the weekends or the evening, and also avoid that frustration. And again, Kim Campbell referenced several situations where she didn't realize until too late that Glenn Campbell was getting frustrated, and she, if she had it to do over again, would have responded differently.
Yes.
So,
and day programs take on that task too of educating the caregiver. So, and part of our training and working with people is to really see how they're coming in, how they're communicating with each other, listening to their questions and really guiding them on the things that they just don't know, because you don't know. You don't know because you've never done it before. And sometimes, unfortunately, the doctors don't have the time, besides telling you, hey, here's your diagnosis, good luck. They don't really have the time to spend on the day-to-day stuff that they're handling at home.
And that's one of the issues that we advocate so heavily for, too, is that all practitioners, physicians, all healthcare providers need to understand how a patient and caregiver should be navigated at the earliest sign rather than coming back when they're already affected by profound disease. Mm-hmm. And there are very few options, but again, specialized adult day services are one of those options.
So often there's someone who will say, a medical person will say, well, what's the difference? And there's that delay of actually getting answers to what's going on. We advocate to if you're noticing something different, please go to the doctor, find out what it is, and let's get you on the road to some path of therapy.
And insist that it be thoroughly vetted. We don't want to hear that these changes are normal aging. They are not.
And there are some diagnoses, if you don't get that diagnosis and a doctor gives you a certain medication, that's bad for that and can make things a lot worse. So why, just for that reason alone, just know. It might not change. It's not going to change the path necessarily for that person. It could.
But for many, it could, yeah.
But, I mean, the main thing is that you'll at least kind of know what you have in front of you and have choices and realize what you can and cannot give somebody.
Absolutely.
And the people around you know. And the people around you and the people with the family can actually help them understand how to live with the different changes as well.
This is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. I'd like to get right back, Julie, to talking about, in the few minutes we have left, what do you do? How do you help a caregiver when everyone realizes that their loved one really could benefit from the specialized adult day program, but that patient isn't convinced and does not want to attend? What can you do?
Well, we kind of give families as many hints as we can, and what we've seen over the years that can work. So one thing that we've suggested is you have the favorite son from California call and just say, Mom, just do it for me. Just try for a day, try for a month. Usually within 3 or 4 days, people are fine with it. It's that initial change is hard for anyone, never mind someone with a cognitive impairment, that their comfort is at home. It's going to be hard. So sometimes that works. Sometimes we say, tell the doctor says they want something monitored for a short period of time. You have to go to, I found this great health place, but it has some fun things going on too. Go there, get it monitored for a month. Like I said, I keep saying a month, but really, you just have to tell them something. Normally, very quickly, they're fine.
And once you get over the first few days, they're generally involved.
In fact, we have people who come, the families literally have to get their loved one in the car and drive them to us on Saturdays and Sundays and say, see, the door is locked.
Because they want to come back.
It just takes a little bit, it's a few days to get over that hump.
That's important information. We have some patients who say they're going to the club.
Yep.
Some are going to work.
I have 2 volunteers today at my program.
We have volunteers,
yes, and they sometimes they come as a volunteer and they want to volunteer that first day, and then it just kind of fades over time. And sometimes you have to find lots of things that they can help you with throughout that whole entire day.
And they're very proud of what they're able to contribute.
Absolutely.
This is why it's so critically important that we know how they lived. What did they do for a career? What were their hobbies? What are they especially good at? Because those are the activities, those are the directions we can go in to be able to redirect if they become anxious or bored or more confused than normal. So that social history is as important, if not more so, than the medical history that they bring to us. Tell us, where New Day is, where do we find you, and how do we reach you?
New Day, our phone number is 561-844-0012, and our address is 301 Ebbtide Drive in North Palm Beach. And my website is www.faithnpb.com. And that's how you find us.
So anyone can drop in and take
Anytime,
a look?
absolutely. You can tour. I encourage people to come and stay for any period of time, family member and loved one that needs the care, to really get a good feel of whether it's the right place for you.
And we've sometimes had a caregiver and a patient drop in, and another patient engages that visiting patient, and now the visiting patient doesn't want to leave.
Right. So yes, we've had that as well.
Julie, thank you so very much. This is such important information. We are thrilled to have you as a partner in specialized Alzheimer's adult daycare, and appreciate all the information you shared with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers. To learn more about the help and hope available from Alzheimer's Community Care, call 561-683-2700 or visit alzcare.org. That's ALZ care.org. Tune in next Sunday at 6:30 for another edition of Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers right here on Legends 100.3.